Let's try this again. Yo, what's good? What's good? It's your boy B okay. Everyone thoughts we back in this thing. I'm gonna be doing some reacting, um, and debating and conversating. If anybody wanna pull up about this Tory Lanez topic, um, obviously last week he got sentenced to 10 years. We talked about it on my podcast. Absolutely unsure. Well, it's tragic, and I feel like um, justice wasn't really served because, as far as I'm concerned, I ain't really seen no proof on why he should be in jail or why he got convicted or how the jury came up with their synopsis. So, um, I've been watching this. Well, I've been seeing this dude pop up a couple times. I guess his name is Donette on YouTube. Not sure what's his name on other platforms, but I've been seeing him react on Twitter and a lot of his clips, and I've been liking some of the things he's talking about. So I just wanted to go through and just have a conversation over the court transcripts because me personally, I hate reading and having to communicate. So we can watch him kind of break down and read over the transcripts, and we can kind of talk about it as well because a lot of things I noticed is like even things he mentioned of like what he talking about recently before I paused it and started this video about how just the judge will show like favoritism and some of the like objections and things like that. And I remember that being a thing, and it's just a lot of little technicality things, like even with the the Twitter or the tweet where it says that's not true. Like the prosecution was doing a lot of little things that really shouldn't get over, and the judge really shouldn't even let that be submitted as evidence. Because even when you say that's not true, because it said people are saying Kelsey shot Megan, and they said that's not true. Literally, the that's not true could be saying that people are not saying that, not even referring to who actually are they pointing at and who's shooting at somebody. So it's just like a lot of little things that they tried to use was like, it's like you can look at it a multiple different ways on certain things, and I felt like that was them trying to play tricks and stuff, even though they know it's like just bullshit evidence and stuff like that. So it's just a lot of little things like that that I don't really think is nitpicking the prosecution that we should really go over and look at. So hopefully we see some of those things I'm talking about as well in here. But I'm gonna let him get into it. We're gonna skip around to the good parts, but let's get it.
Weeks knocked off. So if you do the math real quick in your head, that's hey, what's up? It's your boy Denai. Thank you so much for
Good
tuning
night.
in. So this is part 3 in understanding and breaking down the Tory Lanez case based on court transcripts and based on
Man,
information
that's
from
part
the
three.
record, not based on the court of public opinion nor anything that you probably heard any bloggers speak of. Now, just a refresh, we basically went over Tory Lanez's sentence, right? According to California Department of Corrections Rehabilitation's rule for good credit, basically when they have good behavior, they do not serve the full amount of time. And because of that, it's because California is overcrowded with so many prisoners, right? So basically, let me break it down to you how Tory Lanez, according to the record right now, and according if he gets good behavior credit, which I think he will, actually, I know he will, he is set to be out in 2026. Now, that means violent offenders get 33% credit. So on Tuesday, August 8th, 2023, he was sentenced to 10 years. 33% credit, that's 6.5 years after the good conduct credit is added. Then 305 days in jail. That leaves him with 5.6 years to serve. He's low level, level 2-3 security. He gets an automatic 30 days for 30 days, right? So for every 30 days, 30 days, once he complete drug and alcohol, which I think is going to actually be required, given the facts and given the legal defenses that he tried to claim in court to get, mental institution or alcohol a program opposed to going to prison, he's going to get 12 months knocked off. And after the drug and alcohol program, that's 4.6 years. Plus California, every week for good conduct, he gets 2 weeks knocked off. So if you do the math real quick in your head, that's 2026, the summer of 2026 when he's set to be released. However, I do believe that his attorney is going to take an issue up on appeal, because this good credit time does not kick in until he goes to prison, or until he puts in a motion to go and be transferred to prison, which I believe he already did. And we're going to get to that as well. However, what the judge did, the judge gave him 305 days credit for being in jail and on house arrest. Those are actual days that he served on house arrest and in jail. But, according to California, when you're in jail, you're supposed to get a day for day with good behavior. Now, during Tory Lanez sentencing hearing, there was a chaplain and so many different people that work at Los Angeles County Jail came to testify on his behalf, basically
Didn't know that.
to establish good behavior. The judge did not apply his day for day credit in LA County Jail, but just gave him straight up.
And that's just petty. That's something that the judge know he can make the lawyers hassle him over it. So like what I'm saying is like the judge know that he don't have to grant it initially because he gonna give it to him eventually because that's just how things go. But he know he can make them fight for it, make shit harder for them. So that's just some childish shit from the judge. Obviously, he gave, like you said, the 305 or however many days they said they gave. But even then, it just seemed like the judge is playing a lot of little games just to make shit seem worse and make shit seem harder than it really is. And yeah, but I'm gonna let him finish up on this little sentencing part because I got something I want to say about that.
Up 305 days. Now, once Tory Lanez files an appeal to get his earned time credit for being in jail, that 305 days then turns into 610 days, right? So 610 days is essentially almost a year knocked off. So according to the record right now, he's set to be released in 2026. However, when he do file an appeal and go get his credit for being locked up in LA County Jail a day for a day, 305 turns to 610, and that leaves you with him getting out as early as the summer 2025. If you're confused, stay tuned. We're going to break it down. Thank you all.
And I mean, I get what he's saying. That's why the judge and the prosecution was trying to go for 22 years because they understand all these court different things. When I got locked up for not even locked up, when I got arrested for warrants and stuff, they're always doing a day for day, half the time for however they used to, I forget how they do it. 2 days for one, 2 for 1 day. So if you got a bunch of warrants and it's about 15 days worth of warrants, you have to serve about 6 to 7 days depending on how they feeling. So that's a thing with credits. That's just how they move. That's also how they make their money in jail because the longer you're in there, they make money off of you like a stock or something that they're holding. As they hold you, they get money for holding you. If they basically can speed up your sentence, they can still get the same amount of pay and clear out. Like they could speed up the sentence for whatever reason, and they may lose a little money, but the fact that it could flip that space for another prisoner is what they're really trying to do. So it's a bunch of 2-for-1s out there. Like say you got a bunch of people with a whole bunch of car warrants. If you put everybody in a jail with car warrants in jail right goddamn now, it wouldn't be enough room. So you got to do these 2-for-1s to keep flipping people in and out of jail, and it's equivalent to like say you may be losing 20% or 30% of the money that you would have had if you actually fully kept them that whole time. And even then, I feel like they find ways to finesse the system and stuff like that as far as being able to make this money off these people, because it's definitely like a little Ponzi scheme / like whatever you want to call it when it comes to these jails and how they do these credits and how they make money off holding people and all these different things. So me understanding that Tory getting 10 years could end up only being 2 is reasonable. I said 5 out of the 10, which is half. But even then, like people doing half the time that they serve these days is just not something that people do. Like you said, especially in California, just like half the time is just, unless it's something extremely violent with good behavior, with all these different incentives and programs, you could be out of jail early. And then when you talk about having the money and all these different things to facilitate these different things to make sure they go clean, I could easily see him getting out in 3-4 years as well, or earlier than 5. I'm not gonna say I didn't do this dude math, but I can see him getting out earlier than 5. The frustrating thing about this is I just feel like it's all a game. I just feel like it's all a game. If we went through the last 20 since 2020, last 2 or 3 years of us just dragging out this situation for Tory to get out in basically a year or two, it feels like. I mean, 2025 is a year or two. Then he might be on, I guess, a chance he might get bail or something like that. Like, and he might not even be in jail. Like, I just want to say that this would seem like one of the biggest spectacles of all times. And that's just me thinking from my third dimensional with these distractions and all these different things. Like I said, I'm on Tory's side. Don't get it twisted from what I've seen. And supporting somebody that innocent till proven guilty. But man, this seems like a spectacle. Ultimately, you took about 5 years of his life because you took from 2020. He'd been having to be on basically house arrest till all the way to 2025. I mean, that's a long ass time to fuck over somebody's life. It really is. But it just seems like very anticlimactic, which is this is not a fucking movie or anything, but for it just to be 2 years. It just seems like a show. It just seems like a show. And I know D-Friend, he asked me a long time ago when this case first started, like, why would I think Tory Lanez would sign up to be in something like this? And I'm not saying I think he did that, but let's just say these people are all a part of this, like, just spectacle of Hollywood, and they do shit to play a part of they script and a role in Hollywood and in society, right? These people are jesters. These people are pawns, and they're allowed to be celebrities. So when that call is made down to them that they got to do certain acts of embarrassment rituals or sacrifices or whatever you want to call it, I might be losing people here. When a nigga like Tory, man, only had to get 2 years, and that don't really seem like something I would be like, oh yeah, I can see, I could see him signing up for that, even though he don't have a choice. But I could easily see him signing up for that. Like why would Tory, go through all this and not be quiet and all this, and he get 10 years? That shit do sound crazy. But to say 2 years, or maybe a year and a half, or maybe not even, like, if you get out on bail, bro, it's like, oh yeah, maybe both these niggas was just in the spectacle. I'm being honest. Like, before we really get into this 3 hours, I just had that come up on my mind. Like, if at the end of the day, this nigga out in 2025, I don't know if I might believe that these all they like, cause from like, let me just break this shit down why I think like this. From people not being investigated that got GSR on them, from Kelsey making a song called "Who Shot You," to the bodyguard coming on the last day, to his lawyer leaving 2 days before. Like it just, Sean Kelly changed his testimony. The girl saying they didn't fight. Like it's so much shit that was such a, like, everything's all over the place. Tory not taking a stand. Like, people, like, I at some point I'm like, are y'all niggas all in cahoots? Like, it's such a crazy thing. Like, the jury not like it's such a crazy thing. I feel like everybody in this shit is in cahoots. His lawyers, because it's like sometimes I'm like, why his lawyers didn't say this? And I'm like, Tory, I'm Tory. Or a lot of people feel like if they was in Tory's shoes, why wouldn't you tell your lawyers to say this? Or why wouldn't you tell your lawyers to approach it like this? And then prosecution, why didn't they bring up the bodyguard? It's just like, it's just so many different things that I would feel like if this was an organic courtroom, things would have been done a certain way. And that was on every side, from Tory's lawyers to the judge doing certain shady shit to the prosecution obviously doing shady shit. So when you take on that Tory might not even go to fucking jail. Oh, this was a great distraction. But like I said, I've been on this point for like 5-10 minutes, so I'm gonna move on. I just had to throw that out there because I do feel like these people be playing these games, man, in Hollywood, and having to play these roles where people make a phone call. You gotta do what they say. You gotta participate in these games. And for Tory, they're like, well, what is his benefit to this? Underdog, or what's the dude? I say it happens to Kobe. It happens to all black entertainers, damn near male entertainers. They go through a phase of controversy to come back even stronger. Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams didn't really come back stronger. I'm trying to think of others. It's just been a lot of our black celebrities constantly go through that um challenge. Even with Michael Jordan, his father dying like over gambling, maybe he was connected to it, maybe he wasn't. All these different things is like they come and then they triumph, and then when they triumph, their story even seems even stronger than it was before when it was already great. So, for instance, with Kobe, after the rape incident, he went on to win 2 more championships and go on to be the greatest ever. Tiger Woods, I mean, he had already been great for like damn near 2 decades. So when he fell off, he didn't make a real comeback. But even after he makes his comeback run, he's forgiven. His son's gonna now be able to go on another 2 decades, 3, 4, 5 decades, and shine. So maybe it's not necessarily Tiger Woods, but the legacy of Tiger Woods is going to be replenished over time. Like, so I just see that all the time in Hollywood, where black athletes, black celebrities, especially the male variety, um, goes through these things in society where society basically chastises them or put them in limelight on the front page news to where they're exposed or talked about or whatever. And few years later, these people are making a comeback and things like that. I don't know what you would call that ritual besides like the hero or the heroes. What is it called? Heru's path, because that's like the script of any story or whatever. It's like you go through controversy, you go through the peak, and then you come back down to the final conclusion, and things like that. So it's literally just a story script that we always see. Like, you go through, like I said, controversy and all the different things. But this is gonna be a
So
damn
much for
4 hour
being here.
video.
I greatly appreciate you. Thank you really for being here, Coco. Thank you so much for being here. But again, like I said, this is part 3. In part 1, we just went over it. We looked at the record, some bits of the record, and dealt with the public knowledge and public acknowledgement and what the public perception was. We went over his Instagram post. We went over what happened because I myself was actually sitting in the courtroom during his sentencing hearing. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation going around that Tory Lanez allegedly admitted to putting the pow pow on Megan Thee Stallion during Megan and
Andrea, please.
Let's skip for a little bit.
Fighting, and that Megan was beating up Kelsey. Correct? Well, at some point, you purge yourself. Correct? Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which is Kelsey Harris. Let me remind you, Miss Harris. Which is Kelsey Harris. Let me remind you, Miss Harris, you are still on oath and you are still on direct examination. So the people are still cross-examining her after a full day. After a full day of examining her, the people get to, I guess, finish up their examination on this next day, which is kind of lengthy. So, Ms. Ty, if you would like to resume your direct examination. Ms. Ty, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Kelsey. Good morning. You understand, again, as the court stated, you're still under oath. Yes, ma'am. And we talked about a little bit about use of immunity yesterday. Do you recall that? Yes, ma'am. And do you understand that you have use immunity? You're testifying under a grant of use immunity today. Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am. And do you understand that testifying under a grant of use immunity does not mean absolute immunity? Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am. And you understand that you don't have immunity to purge yourself on stand. Do you understand that? Yes.
So that's the answer to a lot of questions that a lot of people had out there. What type of immunity she had? Well, if she had immunity, why wouldn't she just come out and say different things? She had immunity to be able to skate around the conversation. That's literally all they gave her. And that shit's so trash to me. That should have never been granted, if you ask me. Because it wasn't immunity on any like serious level of like, I can respect it. I don't even know why would I ever respect the immunity. Why would I expect the immunity? If somebody like did a deal with a DA or something, but even then I just feel like or I guess when you give up certain people and you're snitching and stuff like that, you'll give up immunity because now you gotta tell everything that you've done in order to indict other people. But in this case, I don't think that should have been done. I really don't. Because it's not like you're out here trying to get some big mob boss that's really worth it. It's like, I'll lose this like street level criminal. I risk losing this street level criminal if I can get the big honcho. So when I think like that, Why was this immunity given to her if she's not going to sit up there and tell everything? So I just feel like that immunity was granted by the judge just to make shit even more cloudier, if I'm being honest, because it absolutely makes no sense at all.
Yes, ma'am. And you understand that use immunity only give you immunity as to some things you say on the stand, unless you purge yourself. Correct? Yes, ma'am. All right.
Like if her and Tory was two gang members in the same gang, and they got to talk about a history of violence that they have been committing together, and they don't want to get in trouble, or she don't want to get in trouble about some old shit that she ain't done, and people opening up closed doors in her eyes, then I can see that immunity. But it's like her and Tory not even on the same side, so why would she need immunity? Like, what sense that does this come into play? I'm trying to think of all the scenarios of when people normally use immunity. Like, I just don't get it.
So would you agree that Meg was shot that night? Again, her team told me she stepped on glass. So the initial statement is she stepped on glass. Her team said it, the people in the hospital said it, and her team started to push Kelsey out of the picture that night on July 12, 2022, when she went to the hospital. 2020. Well, at some point you acknowledged that she was shot, correct? That's my assumption. Did you hear gunshots that night? Correct. Yes, ma'am. And you saw Meg limping right after gunshots, correct? No, ma'am. I didn't see Meg limping or crawling away to the drive. You didn't see Meg limping or crawling away to the driveway. I can't tell you how she got to the driveway. And you saw that at some point you clearly appeared injured. She clearly appeared injured in some way, correct? Again, everything moved fast. I can't. Now, you didn't shoot her, correct? Correct. I did not. Who shot her then? I don't know. Now, you wanted to plead the fifth yesterday. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Why? That way I don't incriminate myself. Incriminate yourself of what?
That in itself, when she said that, as a jury, I honestly don't understand how you can come up with anything besides unreasonable doubt. Or they haven't proven unreasonable doubt. Because that in itself, I don't want to incriminate myself. For what? It's the same theme around Kelsey keeps presenting itself, and it's not for no reason. Why do I say this? The same baffled thoughts come to my mind. Why would Kelsey make a song called Who Shot You? Why would she have a lyric in her song, do your label know who shot you? I truly baffled. Because at this point, everybody believes Tory shot her. No one's on any respectable platform was saying Kelsey. So, do her label know who shot her? Most likely her label's going with Tory. So, or hedging their bets towards Tory shot her. So, why would you say that? And then when you say, I don't want to incriminate myself, what do you mean by that? The Drewski meme pops in my head every time I hear her. What do you mean by that? You don't want to incriminate yourself. You think you talking about a fight that Meg didn't even say happened? That's not gonna do that. You can't get incriminated on that. She's not filing anything on you. They can't. If they investigated and one of the people that was in a fight said they didn't fight, and who gives a fuck about a fight that happened that long ago? No one's going to they're trying to hang Tory for shooting. They don't give a fuck about y'all fighting. So, and what way could you have incriminated yourself? Did you grab the gun first? Did you start shooting first? Like I said, when I hear Kelsey talk, every time those baffling thoughts go to my mind of what do you mean by that? And it's seriously, what do you mean by that? Not even a playful one. What could you possibly mean by do your label know who shot you? And let's just play a little snippet of the song for context. And we all know. We all know what the original song was implying from Biggie. And I'm not saying Biggie was a part of Tupac getting shot, but Tupac didn't know who shot him. So Biggie was playing on Tupac emotions. Biggie was playing on Tupac emotions and asking you, do you really know who shot you? And that's and let's break down logic. Tupac has in his mind that Biggie did it. So when he asks you who shot you, you got to question it. Do you really know who was the orator of this thing that happened to you? What do you mean by that? From Kelsey.
Yeah, who I'm taking shots at? Bitch, I'm busting you. I'm talking to that same bitch that crashed that boat on 42. It's a shame we here to.
First of all, I know it's a rap song, but who I'm taking shots at, bitch, I'm taking them at you. Hey, how they were trying to hang Tory over character defamation and all this shit. If I'm lawyers, I'm like, if I'm a prosecution and she was a potential witness, what do you mean by your first bar?
Yeah, who I'm taking shots at? Bitch, I'm busting you. I'm talking to that same bitch that crashed that boat on 42. It's a shame we're here today. Truth be told, it's cause of you. Couldn't control your little feelings. Look what dick is costing you. It was all good. Yeah.
What they're referring to, you sleeping with a nigga I was fucking with, right? What they're referring to, you putting all your bags in his car, you getting kicked out of the whole Kylie house and situation, because you can't control your emotions. Why? Because of some dick. That over some dick. You know the crazy part is Meg was acting like this, and she was fucking other niggas besides Tory. That's how toxic she is. Like let's get into it, bro. That's how toxic she is. She acting like this. She acting this possessive over a nigga she just fucked from time to time. And she got other niggas. Like, I know her and Tory may have been cool and in love and all that. I'm not gonna knock that. But to act like she was 100% monogamous to that nigga, bro, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. So being that emotional over a nigga you just sleep around with, like, come on, bro. When you know your best friend was fucking them too, like, come on, bro. Toxic bitch, man.
It's costing you. It was all good, yeah. About a week ago, shout out Bobby's murder, but this bitch is really tough. If I was the one with the gun, you would have heard about a murder. Said her back was turned, but that girl know who really hurt her. Never been a.
So obviously that's like I don't really get that part either. She said her back was turned, but you know who really hurt her. I mean, even in that bar, she said her back was turned, but she said Tory did it. And if the gun was in her hand, she would have did a murder. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But I that could be capped there. And
Your Honor, I'm going to object.
I just go into his little. I just want to see how close he was to talking about that. But he basically talking about his theory is Kelsey started shooting in the air, and then when Tory came and tried to take the gun from her, it pushed her arm down, and that's when the guns went off. I mean, when the Megan got shot. So when you think of it like that, it's like you're capping. Yeah, you're just capping in my mind. I was gonna say maybe if Tory don't fight her for the gun, but even in that theory, I don't think she would have killed the girl. I really don't. I just think that's cap. But even then, that shows a certain level of animosity. But then this shit don't make sense at all. But regardless of the fact, that shit don't matter if you would have been told it, because everybody already thought it was Tory. Like that just don't like little shit like that is just confusing. And why would she even make this song with these type of lyrics?
Really thought I knew you thought that you would keep it G. If you wanna talk gangsta, bitch, I'm really from the street. Imagine lying to the DA saying I took some hush money. Put a muzzle on your friends, y'all acting like some crash dummies. Got my chain snatched? Damn, here you go lying. Be a A-list celeb, you doing too much trying. Where I get this money from? Bitch, you knew I was a hustler. The way she did 1501, shoulda knew I couldn't trust you. Protect black women, huh? But you still addressed to me. Damn, I thought that you was solid, now the joke's on me. Damn, I ain't wanna have to do this, but you steady shooting shots. They said if I spoke that a sex tape could drop. Was never supposed to be against each other. This what y'all made it. I'ma still live it up. Yeah, I know y'all really hate it. Sucking dick behind my back. Who really on their knees? You an overachiever. All you do is succeed. Claiming you a pimp, huh? But you slipping on your Mac hacking. Are you lying to your label? Do they really know what happened?
Who shot you?
I said there's a lot of questionable stuff in this song. I said everything I hear her say, what do you mean by that?
Cause you know it wasn't me. I was 10 toes down whenever you had beef.
But she never said that publicly, that it was you. And if she was saying it was you behind closed doors, that means a lot to me. That means a lot to me. Why is that the conversation behind closed doors? That goes into does she really know who shot her? First of all, her back was turned. That's what she said. Well, that's what Kelsey said too. Or at least what Kelsey said Megan said. So that's a question in itself. But it's just so much, man. It's so much. Let's finish.
That has been asked and answered, overruled. You can answer the witness anything that I was not truthful about. Miss Todd, okay, well, you're not being truthful about the fact that you didn't shoot Meg, correct? Yes, ma'am. So you're not incriminating yourself because you didn't shoot Meg, correct? I'm sorry, say that again. You're not incriminating yourself with respect to who shot Meg, correct? No, ma'am. No, I did not. What are you not being truthful about then? The events of the night. What part? What exactly about the events of the night you're not being truthful about? I mean, I can't recall. You know, the whole night due to alcohol. So basically, she's now back to here playing this game, this cat and mouse game with the DA. I'm going to give you information, but just enough for you to feel satisfied, but nothing at all. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, boom, there you go. Kelsey said in court records and the transcripts that she did not shoot Meg. Now, technically, nobody shot Meg based on the knowledge and information that I have. So the only witness in this case that's not a party to the action is Sean Kelly. Sean Kelly clearly stated in court transcript records that Megan and Kelsey was fighting and that Megan was beating up Kelsey. And that because of that, that's when Kelsey took out the pow and busted 3 in the air. And Tory Lanez then tried to stop her. And a part of it was him trying to, I guess, get control of the pow and gunshot residue was basically on his wrist. And the gunshot residue was on Kelsey's hand. So just because Kelsey's saying I did not shoot Meg, well, technically she did.
I'm gonna let him finish that, but just in that alone, I understand if it's on Tory Palm, you investigate him, you do DNA, you do all the different things. But if it's on Kelsey hand, why wouldn't you do the same thing? Like I'm no GSR expert by any fucking means, but like that seems like an obvious. If someone has GSR on their hands versus another like random spot on their body, like what are more likely chance that person was the actual shooter? Like I think just off GSR testing, like they can get a pretty good I forget what you call hypothesis on who they thought shot the person, right? Especially with the location and maybe like the percentage of GSR is in a certain location. On your hand, I think that's like, okay, this person's most likely, not just 100%. I'm not gonna sit up and say just because GSR on Kelsey hands, it's shield and shut. But in my mind, that person would have been a prime suspect, regardless of what was said that night from Meg Thee Stallion or whatever. Just because even then, Meg Thee Stallion said that no, she didn't get shot. She stepped on glass. So if they wanted to do an investigation based on their own hunch, because that's what people do a lot of, prosecutions in the state of whatever the states like to do, I should say, they'll form their own opinion on certain things, and then they'll do their own investigation if the person or the victim really don't want to come forward, but they feel like they have enough. So when I feel that all these initial things was going on, they hear gunshots, and if they want to investigate who actually shot a gun in a home, even if the initial investigation wasn't about to be about Megan getting shot, because that didn't come up till like a month later. you still feel like they would have did an investigation on Kelsey. You still feel like they would have did DNA on Kelsey. You still feel like she would have been the main suspect for one of the people that fired the gun recklessly just off the GSR location. The fact that she never got investigated, to me, is such a spectacle in itself. Because I get it, Megan didn't say she shot her, but that has nothing to do with the whole first day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that's happened after the shooting. Because at that point, the reason they get pulled over is not because they was just driving intoxicated. The reason they got pulled over was for suspected shots being fired. I don't think it was they got pulled over because somebody was a potential a victim that got shot. I don't think Sean Kelly even mentioned that, like, oh, he actually thinks someone got shot in the phone calls or anything like that. Maybe we get into that. So I'm just saying, if you going off of just the initial night and what the cops, I believe the cops really pulled them over for and got called out there for was just gunshots. There's no way Kelsey don't get investigated.
Didn't shoot Meg because there was bullet fragments, alleged bullet fragments pulled out of her feet. So my theory is that when Kelsey was busting in the air and Tory came over to try to knock the pow down, is that these bullet fragments hit the ground and they could have bounced up. And you know, if you got bullet fragments bouncing up and dispersing and they hit you, of course it's going to cause a rip or tear in the skin, a hole or fraction or whatever the case may be. It's not like a direct shot. So if Kelsey did in fact fire the firearm and bullet fragment hit the ground and just dispersed and some of it got into Megan's feet, that is not technically shooting her. That means you shot the ground. And then on top,
and I could, even if it's, I wouldn't say it's technically not shooting her. Technically it is shooting her. But if I was on stand and I didn't want to go to fucking jail, I'd be like, hell no, I ain't shoot her. Like, I would use that technicality of me not actually shooting her with a gun pointing at her shooting. I would use that on stand. I'm like, no, I didn't shoot her. And if one day get caught in perjury on stand, I'm gonna be like, well, I meant that I didn't shoot her. Like, I don't believe a gun going in the ground and ricocheting and shooting her, and then you get in trouble for that. But yeah, I think I could easily see a suspect playing certain word games like that and being super literal with that, even though everybody else knows what you want to imply when you ask, like, who did you shoot her? Like, were you the one responsible for the ricochet? That's a different question. Did you shoot her? To especially a person like I said on stand. Like, I'm not about to sit up here and give y'all an easy, like, yeah, I shot her and I don't even believe I shot her. And then if you even go into the next scenario of, like, there was actually glass that she stepped on, was like, yeah, I shot a gun, but I never shot her. So you keep asking me, did I shoot her? No. And Kelsey could have been the one responsible for the guns going off and stuff like that. But in Kelsey's eyes, she stepped on glass. So no, I ain't shoot her. So it's like, if I'm a potential suspect and I'm on stand, I could easily do that. And I feel like that's a good reason for why she shouldn't have never been on stand, bro. This person should have been under investigation as a main suspect. There's no way she should be on trial or on stand during my trial. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, I mean, I know that happens. Like, I'm thinking back, like, if y'all both rob a bank and you decide to snitch, like, they'll obviously have you on stand when you're snitching. But I feel like that's you already admitting to a crime. Like, you admitted to doing certain shit. Like, say y'all go rob someone and then somebody murders someone. That person's gonna be on stand with, like, yeah, I admitted to robbing, right? But I didn't murder someone. So I could easily see that person being on stand. But a person that's a potential suspect and never got investigated, never admitted to, like, anything, like, bro, that person being on stand is crazy. Cause they can just deflect everything away from them. Like, it's like no accountability when they should have been investigated. Like I said, when it's the other way around, it's like, at least you know that person admitted to something. for them to be taking a plea deal and shit like that. And even then, that plea deal shit to me is kind of whack. Because that person could easily lie and point fingers and shit like that. The person that murdered the person could take the plea deal and be like, he did it. Like, it could be that simple. It's like, who takes the plea deal first really is the game. Who the one snitches first really is it. That's how the court system kind of goes. Like, if it's a domestic dispute, obviously they take women's side from time to time, but it's really the first person that calls. Like, the first person to call, the first person to snitch, the first person to take the plea deal is the one that get to point the finger. And I just, like, even in that self, like I said, them persons should not be on trial, bro. They shouldn't be able to take the stand and be a part of you making a case against me. That shit's crazy. Cause like they have all the reasons to be lying and not to go to jail. Like, people already say, "Why don't snitch, don't snitch, don't snitch, don't break the code." It's like, well, people got so many reasons to break that code, and it's no different than a nigga taking a plea deal and maybe lying. It's like, it's so many reasons why someone would do that. Like, that's human nature, especially for people that's already, not of the greatest character.
But where this crime scene, where are these shell casings? Was it a revolver? Is it a semi-automatic? I think that's a question that I need to further establish and understand, because according to what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't get any of this, and the gunshot residue was on Kelsey's, hand. Rachel said, right, no one popped her. Right, they were intoxicated. So I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad it's nothing but critical thinkers over here. Nobody popped Kelsey. I mean, nobody popped Megan. Like I said, my best bet is that it was a pop, and then do on the ground, boo. So technically, nobody was shot. So I'm not taking Kelsey's, "Oh, I didn't shoot her," understand as concrete evidence that she did not actually fire the firearm. I have not seen or heard anybody in these court transcripts ask her the direct question. And this is leading. Like, I don't understand how the prosecutor can come out and say, "Did you shoot Meg?" You know what I'm saying? Without asking her first, "Did you ever carry a firearm? Was it in your bag? It was this color. Wouldn't you say that's a feminine color? Why would Tory Lanez have?" And I'm really excited to see the re-examination by the defense team, but let's continue.
Yeah, I don't know what's considered leading in that situation, but I could easily see how the prosecution would want to gloss over that if they're trying to convict Tory. I don't know how unbiased the prosecution has to be when it comes to their questioning of certain witnesses. I think they could choose to withhold certain questions. For sure. I think that's more on Tory's side. I'll say that. Like, Tory lawyers have to emphasize that, or at least Tory lawyers have to put that in play to a point where the prosecution has to go ask Kelsey a certain brand of questions themselves that will be on that same topic. So, for instance, when Tory lawyers bring it up, if they bring it up in a good way where it sparks the jury mind that it may be their guns, now the prosecution job is to defend that or to bounce that back in the sense of or rebuttal is the better response. Now it's the prosecution job to rebuttal that, to make the jury kind of not believe that it's Kelsey gun and stuff like that. They want to put this on Tory as much as possible. So that'd have been their job. And while they doing that, if they either do it good or well, if they do it good, I mean, I think that's respect to maybe the truth or whatever, maybe just schemes or whatever. But if they do it poorly, that could either help Tory case more or hurt the prosecution case more. So I think that. Like I said, I think that gotta get started by the Tory's lawyers, because it could lead to a ripple or a snowball effect of beliefs and thoughts that may be sparked that didn't get sparked initially. But the prosecution's not gonna open that door, is what I'm trying to say. That door got to be opened by Tory's lawyers, and the prosecution gonna do his best job to shut that door on that conversation. But depending on the truth, depending on how much Kelsey's going to say, is only so much they could do to open and shut that door. And like I said, I don't think I think the prosecution's smart enough to know that.
Isn't it true you wanted to plead the fifth because you didn't want to testify? Yes, ma'am. Is it true that you wanted to plead the fifth because you don't want to be here? I would prefer not to be. I told you what I'm dealing with. Isn't it true? That's why you pled the fifth because you didn't want to be here. I'm sorry, there's many reasons, I guess. Isn't it true that you didn't want to be dragged into this case because you've been harassed and you've been threatened, and that's why you plead the fifth? Your Honor, I'm going to object argumentative, overruled. That's not true. This judge is straight up biased. That is very argumentative. Is it true that you didn't want? First of all, this is a compounded sentence and a statement, and is leading. I would have objected to it as leading and argumentative. Isn't it true that you didn't want to be here, be dragged into this case? That's a yes or no question, because you've been harassed and you've been threatened, and that's why you plead the fifth. No, you're supposed to say, is it true that you don't want to be, that you didn't want to be dragged into this case? Yes or no? She say, yes. Okay. Is it because you've been harassed or threatened? And it, yes or no? Boom. So is that why you pled the fifth? Yes or no? So this is a compounded question that should have been objected to as leading and argumentative and sustained, but the court overruled it because, as I've seen from these court transcripts and from the sidebar, in which a lot of people, well, most people, actually anybody sitting in the courtroom would know, this judge is very, very much against the defense.
Yeah, and I do know that I don't know for a fact, but you're not supposed to ask them more than one question at once because that can confuse the jury, it can confuse the witness. You're supposed to keep it one at a time and stuff like that. So asking the compound question, and kind of, I can get it like he said, leading, because it's like you asking her, did you feel offended or did you feel harassed and all these different things, or you telling her she felt these ways, and you saying right, and you coming to an assumption versus just asking.
Anyways, are those reasons why you wanted to plead the fifth? The witness, I've been harassed by, many of people. Um, is that why you plead the fifth? Because you don't want to have to deal with this? I don't want no involvement in this, and I have life going on. Isn't it true you're pleading the fifth because you don't want to be brought back into the limelight? Your Honor, may we approach the court? No. You can answer the question. What?
Oh no,
Mr.
it
Nardino,
ain't
may
that
I
bad.
consult with my client? The court, you may. Mr. Nardino, I'll retract it. You'll retract it. Mr. Bott, can you let her answer the questions? Can you go ahead and consult with your client? So the court, so for the record, the witness has had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Nardino. Mr. Nardani is Kelsey's public defender, court appointed attorney, I believe. You want to re-ask the question, right? Isn't it true that you pled the fifth because you didn't want to be brought back into the limelight? I disclosed to the judge prior why I took the fifth. Ooh, what? Her answer is, I disclosed to the judge prior why I took the fifth. That sounds like ex parte communication, which is illegal. You can lose the judge can be thrown off the bench if he's accepted ex parte communication from this particular individual. Like, for instance, you know how like he received all of those letters from Iggy Azalea, Mario, and other celebrities in support of Tory Lanez. Well, they're not witnesses to the case. They're only witnesses as to his character reference. They're not actually a part of the case. They're not for the defense. They're not for the offense. And this is actually a witness that's being
I don't
called
know
into
what
the
he
court.
said.
So when she said, I
Ex-parte.
disclosed to the judge prior why I took the fifth, are you saying that you disclosed it in these court?
A judge shall not initiate or permit or consider ex parte communication or consider other communications made to the judge outside of the presence of a parties of their lawyer. That's what I was wondering. I was like, I know from time to time, like a witness or even like the person being tried will have like a meeting with the judge with their lawyers over certain stuff, or at least the lawyers that have I don't know. So I was just wondering when she said she talked to the judge, she could have easily been with her lawyer as well. But I don't know. When circumstances require schedule for emergency purposes, which is not addressed. Trying to see if there's anything that's kind of applies deeper. A judge shall not investigate facts and matter independently and shall consider only evidence presented and any facts that may properly be judicially noticed. If a judge inadvertently receives an unauthorized ex parte communication bearing upon the substance of matter, the judge shall make provisions promptly to notify the parties of the substance of communication and provide parties with an opportunity to respond. A judge may, with consent of the parties, confer separately with parties and their lawyers in efforts to settle matter pending before the judge. So, I mean, in this case, he's trying to make it seem like she told them to plead the fifth and the deeper reasons why. And maybe the prosecution, I mean not prosecution, Tory's lawyers don't have any information to that. And that I don't think that would be right. I don't know if you could do that, is what I'm saying. I'm trying to think in my own mind, is that fair? If like Kelsey said something and she knew if she said it on record, she could be tried for it. But then, yeah, that would be even more insane if she actually told the judge some shit and she could be guilty for, and the judge gave her that type of shit. Like, she shouldn't have, if she knew she committed a crime, like you should not have. I mean, whoever she should not have gave immunity. But if you're going to grant someone immunity, I think you definitely have to tell Tory's lawyers why they got immunity. Like if she's spoken to a lawyer behind closed doors and whatever, and that just was not even behind closed doors. If she talked to the lawyer with her lawyers and they came to some type of understanding, I could get it. But when you give someone immunity that can affect how I ask this person questions, and it can affect how I can get my message across to the jury, I think I better know at least why this person has immunity. I would consider that at least fair. So I'm just thinking, I don't know if that's legal, but I'm just saying in my own mind, like I like to judge it based on how I feel sometimes, because it's like, do I really think that's fair or not? And I would consider that fair.
Transcripts, because I don't recall you ever having any direct communication with the judge unless she's totally confused. But I would have inquired. I was like, what did you disclose to the judge? When was it? Was it yesterday? Was it in a letter? When did you talk to the judge? Because that's ex parte communication, which is grounds to have this judge removed off the bench. You know, you can't do that. But that's just in theory. I don't know what she meant. That's subject to interpretation. The same way a jail recording between Kelsey and Tory Lanez is subjected to interpretation, but everybody wanted to perceive it as concrete. So why not? Let me go ahead and say that she has been talking to the judge ex parte communication without any parties or anybody's acknowledgement, and now she's on the stand. Yeah. So anyways,
I don't know. That's a stretch.
Question. Now I'm asking you a question right now. Isn't it true that one of the reasons you plead the fifth is because you didn't want to be brought back into the limelight? No. Isn't it true that one of the reasons you plead the fifth is because you don't want to voluntarily be brought into a case? When in September, did you tell us that some of the falling out involved disagreements about how information was being released to the public from this case? I don't remember. Do you remember telling us that Meg had posted a statement shortly after the shooting about what happened, and you were upset about what was said in that statement? She did post a statement. I can't recall what was said in the statement. That's a great question, because now you're trying to basically get this witness to acknowledge certain things that you want to include into evidence without actually showing it. So she said she did post a statement. I can't recall what was said in the statement. And at this moment, a good prosecutor or defense team would move to admit the people or the defense evidence, one or two, whatever it is, so that she can look at it and then say, does this refresh your memory? But of course, the people did not put that into record. They basically said, do you recall actually pulling up that statement in the interview and going over it with us word for word? I don't know. Okay, so basically what I told y'all in the last video, they basically played this recording of Kelsey's
And a different dude I podcast with, he brought this up about the reason that they was even able to play the interview. The prosecution just brought it up. If I'm not mistaken, he's still talking from the prosecution's perspective. He said the people, that's the prosecution. So they bringing up the interview. Like, bro, they wanted to get that interview played because they understand. Well, I don't know at what point they wanted to get the interview played, but especially after Kelsey first day on the stand, I know they wanted to probably get that interview played, and definitely after the second day. When they seen how that was going, they was like, we got to get this interview played. So who brought it up and the reasons they got it to get played, like, I think that was just they were just trying to scapegoat Tory team and make them the reason why that happened, even though they was like fiending for that shit. Like, they was just hoping, seething at the mouth, and even was bringing it up many other times before it. But I guess I will say to different points, like, well, when you bring up that they were leading her in the interview and stuff like that, it makes you want to go back and play it. But regardless, that's when you get into, should it even be played? Should it even be talked about in court?
Timmer statement out in open court in front of the jury without actually finding any particular grounds to bring it in. So last time in the last video in part 2, I showed y'all how at the end of the day, the district attorney's office basically hit Tory's attorney with a mountain of paperwork and was basically like, that, everything that they're talking about, all that evidence is basically what was talked about in that September 2022 interview with Kelsey. That was a backdoor way to get it in. Now, this is another backdoor way to get it in when she says, do you recall actually pulling up that statement in the interview and going over it word for word? So they're trying to find backdoor ways to sneak in and continue to play this recording of September 2022 interview, even though Kelsey has stated countless times that she basically was not being honest and truthful during those interviews. They're continuously trying to figure out ways to get it in and to play as much of that interview as possible because they want to use that prior statement, which is inconsistent with what Kelsey is saying in court on these particular trial days.
And when I think, like, why would Kelsey be untruthful during that interview? Obviously, she feel like she can get caught up. She can go to jail if she say the wrong things. Just like how she feel like she understand. But I do think she was willing to convict Tory to get herself out of it. And only thing I could probably think of, I'm not saying this is what I 100% feel or what I 100% think happened. She got to come to heart when the trial get closer, where she don't really want to convict him and send him to jail when she know he ain't do it. So that's when she start, kind of running around and saying she don't know this and know that, because a lot of people feel like, obviously Tory may have paid her off, but even past that, they feel like she was on Tory's side or she was trying to help Tory by acting like she forgotten all these different things. And it helped Tory case to a degree, especially if they didn't play that interview, but it definitely helped her case being forgetful. So I think it was a win-win for her and Tory when she played forgetful versus let's just stick to what the prosecution say. Let's just stick to being on Megan's side and helping her get everything she want again. I think Kelsey wasn't gonna have that, especially after everything Meg had done to her, from the threats to the lies to whatever. Especially if Kelsey thinks she stepped on glass or whatever. However Kelsey may feel about it. So I could easily see Kelsey getting in her feelings and saying, you know what, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna hang Tory Lanez just because Megan told me to do it, or just because the prosecution may have coaching me to do it. And I think that's when she flips on trial, or as the trial get closer. I think those feelings start to harbor. Now, that's the only legit reason why I could think she lied in the interview and completely flipped like a couple months later. That's like personally.
In front of the trier of fact to taint the case. Okay. Okay. And do you recall that part of the reason you had an issue with that statement was because she didn't have your back? Mr. Madagascar, Your Honor, objection asked and answer. Court sustained. Okay, great. Do you recall that you then released a statement that she was upset that statement did not have her back? No. If I could just have a moment, Your Honor. Yes. Mr. I've marked as people 37 what appears to be a post. Okay, great. Your Honor, may we approach sidebar? We're at the sidebar. We're back again with them bringing out the text messages that have not been shared. I appreciate that counsel thinks that they're gone over some of this language when they met with her in the interview on September 27 in their case in chief. But if they intend to introduce stuff, they need to turn it over to the defense. And you don't turn it over in the middle of direct examination. But they spring this on me and they say this is what we're going to put out. And I haven't even seen this document. The court, what's the document for, Ms. Sal? The two documents are Instagram posts, which are available to the public. And not only that, Mrs. Harris gave the interview in September and read both statements word for word out loud. She pulls up the entire content, and what were introduced was already provided. The court, the objection is overruled. All right. Okay, but this is what I'm saying. The two documents are Instagram posts, which are available to the public. That has nothing
To
do with it actually getting into the court. Nothing. You need to actually file a motion and bring the evidence in the right way. And it just goes to show when she's
and that's just proper court stuff, because you got to give both sides the appropriate amount of time to prepare, so it's fair. Like they if they had the appropriate time to prepare, then when it goes into debate, you have no like excuses to why it didn't go your way. So if you can go into the argument saying, well, it wasn't fair from the jump, like we just getting this thrown in our lap, the debate shouldn't even be valid or respected, because they didn't get the time to do the research. They didn't get the time to go through their proper questioning and how they was going to attack and approach these different things, which is basically them being caught off guard. And that's not technically how the court's supposed to move. So when the judge say overruled, that does show a certain level of favoritism. Like the judge not gonna outright say, I just love the prosecution and how they're putting their points together. No, he's gonna the way you see how a judge is being favoritism or having favoritism, just like you see a ref, it's like, damn, this nigga only making calls this way. Like when people talk about the Kings versus the Lakers, it's like the Lakers had 40 fouls and free throws, and the Kings had 5. Like you don't see that type of disparity in any other regular season game, any other playoff game. Like that's such an anomaly. How did it happen in Game 7 in a physical game that was physical on both sides, where you could see fouls on both sides? How did that happen? Where it's such a big margin of a difference. So when you see stuff like that, that's when you start to realize, oh, there's the favoritism. So when he says overruled, it just goes into something I seen earlier from the same dude. He was like, the judge said that it was easier to do it that way. Like this was a response in an interview about why did he let the Kelsey interview get played. He was like, that's just how I wanted to do things because it was easier that way. And it seems like this as well. It's like, I'm going to overrule it because it's easier this way. And the reason it's easier because he's on the prosecution side. It's easier to convict Tory if I let this go.
Says the two documents, the Instagram posts, which are available to the public. And this defense is basically saying I haven't gotten a copy of it for this case specific. is basically showing you that this whole case is built off of a public perception opposed to the actual facts and the actual evidence provided before the court. You know, okay, the court. All right, next question. Miss Harris, I'm going to show you what's marked as 37 and what is 37. 30. Now they're getting in. A 37 appears to be an Instagram post from the account called The Stallion, 2 pages. I'm going to object this hearsay. So marked. So he didn't even. So mark objections overruled. People's 37 Instagram post. Miss Harris, do you recognize this? Yes, ma'am. And how do you recognize this? It's an Instagram post. And is this an Instagram post from Meg regarding the shooting? Your Honor, I'm going to object hearsay. If you know, did you see these posts? Yes. Okay. And is it true that during the September interview, you actually pulled up this post and read it loud to us correctly? I honestly don't remember. And you mentioned that you had a problem with this post because after it was posted, she didn't protect you and you got more heat and more harassment after this. I did receive harassment after this post, and that's what you told us in September, correct? I don't recall, but I did receive harassment. And then you shortly thereafter released your own post to Instagram.
Like this whole, I remember the harassment, but I don't remember the post shit. It's just so fake. It's just so fake. Like no one's memory is that selective. Like you're gonna remember the sentiment. You're gonna remember a summary of what was said. Like if you can remember the harassment, like that's just. And it's just so many of those things. Like, nah, I don't remember X, Y, and Z or the. I don't remember the logistics of the situation, but I know the after effect. I know I received a package. Like it's just weird. I know I got the feelings. Like I know I got the animosity, but I don't remember why I got the animosity. Like yeah, I'm mad at Megan, but I forgot we fought. I don't remember us fighting. Like it's just so weird. But I remember being bruised and scratched up, but I don't remember us fighting. It's just like, bro, yeah. And maybe yeah, you can say they were blacked out and shit like that, but it's just they do that with everything. Like it's just weird.
Instagram about this case, didn't
and
you?
No one questioned that.
Yes, ma'am. And
the jury don't like realize that. Like that don't get brought into like Tory lawyers have to bring that up. Tory lawyers have to bring that type of stuff up, man. It's like, how are we having this selective memory? How are these credible witnesses? Like, I don't know if you can just ask that on stand. I don't know if you could just make that on stand. Maybe that's in my mind. Maybe I put that in my closing statements and my closing arguments. But at some point, you got to find a way to make sure that everyone in that courtroom understands that, like, these people's stories are bullshit. And it should not be respected or trusted. Like, it's just the fact that didn't get put across, and maybe it did get put across until that interview, I don't understand.
Going to show this is People's 38. That's one page, and it appears to be an Instagram post. All right, so Mark, 38 is marked. Do you recognize this, Ms. Harris? Yes, ma'am. And what is it? It's an Instagram post. And is that your Instagram post? Yes, ma'am. And you posted it shortly after the shooting incident. I posted it. Honestly, I don't know when I posted it. You posted this in 2020, correct? Yes, ma'am. What does this post say? What did you post? I mean, it says it right here. You said, I want to clear up the rumors that I shot Meg. I wasn't the one with the gun and would never do something like that. However, I was present. Okay, is that correct? So how you are, like, you understand what I'm saying? You're bringing Instagram posts or these things in prior statements into the court where she said she wasn't the one with the gun, which is inconsistent with forensic evidence, specifically gunshot residue. Why did they get it off your hand if you didn't have it? So you're a liar. And I don't understand why they're taking this into consideration.
And like I said, that's what the lawyers have to bring that up. Well, you didn't shoot, you didn't have a gun, but why was the GSR in your hand? And we're gonna stay on that topic till we blue in the face. My wallet, yeah. We need water to. But we gonna get to we gonna be blue in the face till I can get her to slip up. Cause at the end of the day, you gotta get the jury to know she's a liar.
Taking this, marking this evidence into records and having her to say, is it correct? Yes, they're not really examining her and getting to the substance of that post and calling her bluff out because they're not interested in that. And I hope the defense is prepared because apparently Mr. Madagascan is there by himself because Sean Hawley has ducked out of court and has not been in the picture. And this man has to remember all of this BS, all of this for redirect examination. And I hope he's very talented and I hope he has a great memory because not only is he being bombarded with information to cross-examine his witness with on this day, but there was a whole full day, a whole goddamn fucking 5 hours yesterday that he has to remember into his time to actually cross-examine. So it's a lot.
Yeah, when you put it into that perspective, I mean, I feel like you should be able to keep up because it's like you invested, but I don't know how much he was around, even though he was a part of the camp before she got fired. And I don't know how much that could affect them on stress levels and trying to maintain a rebuttal argument and keep all this in your mind when you're the only one there. Like, when you got assistance, when you got help, like, it's easy for them to remind you and keep you on track and, like, stuff like that. I know, like, all the time when I'm debating and stuff, like, it'll be certain, like, literal facts that I'll be forgetting because, like, I'm talking about something, like, in a broader sense, and then somebody will bring that up, and I'll be like, oh, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And then it helps my case even better because they can bring up a real world example, or they could bring up a scenario or perspective that, as I was kind of like brainstorming while talking, wasn't coming up with. So I could easily see why his lawyers or Tory's lawyer team was hampered and being unsuccessful and with rebuttals and stuff like that.
A lot. And you said that after you posted this, Meg was set up after that post, correct? Yes. Why was she upset? Objection calls to speculation. Sustain. Okay. Did she tell you why she was upset? Objection. Hearsay. Sustain. Effect on the listener, Your Honor. Sustain. Next question. So, if the question is, did she
My pockets.
tell you why she was upset? And the DA saying effect on the listener, Your Honor, sustain. Next question. Then why did you allow the recording from a prior statement, which is proven to be inconsistent with what she's saying during trial, and you allowed it as effect on the listener? This judge is a fucking asshole. This judge definitely hates to cross-examine his witness with on this day, but there was a whole what she's saying during trial yesterday that he has to remember into his time to actually cross-examine. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And you said that after you posted this, Meg was set up after that post, correct? Yes. Why was she upset? Objection calls to speculation. Sustain. Okay. Did she tell you why she was upset? Objection. Hearsay. Sustain. Effect.
I get the first one being speculation. Do you know why she was up? Well, that's not speculation if this is a direct relationship and that's a best friend. There's a good way to, like, there's a good possibility that you would know why she was feeling a certain type of way. And then if she told you, I mean, I would want to know what she told you. Like, but I guess Megan's not on trial, so that's why that's not getting, like, you not doing that. But I think when you see, that's the thing. Like, I get Megan not on trial, so it's like, well, if someone's asking me about Megan or something that's like outside of that or dealing with that, you can object to it because I said she's not on trial. But when you feel like, or when you realize she was a part of this whole situation, getting into a fight, fucking a best friend, like, that could be the reason someone could have a motive to even want to shoot her. I think you would want to, like, get some type of, like, understanding on about the emotions of her and stuff like that. But maybe I'm crazy.
On the listener, Your Honor. Sustain. Next question. So if the question is, did she tell you why she was upset? And this information was released. I don't want to. I can't say yes or no to that. I'm sorry. Well, was it or was it not one of the reasons your relationship broke down with Meg? The way you and Meg posted Instagram statements about this case. Again, the relationship got weird immediately after. And in that interview in September, you told us that Meg needed to be held accountable for suggesting you took hush money, correct? I believe she needs to be held accountable for spreading false information. She been spreading false information this whole time. Tory Lanez has said it, and this witness has said it then on stand. And that information you said is that you took hush money, correct? Yes, ma'am. That's what she said. And again, you also got false information being spread around you about you apparently being the shooter, correct? Yes, ma'am. And you also said in this interview in September that Tory also had to be held accountable, correct? I don't recall. You told us that Tory had offered you either money or favor after the shooting, correct? Mr. Madagassi, objection, ask and answer, Your Honor. Overrule. Again, I told you yesterday that a lot of things I spoke to you about weren't true. So why aren't they moving to dismiss this witness? She keep on saying, I can show you at least 7 times in these transcripts that she said, I told you yesterday. Or I told you a lot of the things that I spoke to you about in September weren't true. Motion to impeach this witness. She's continuing to say that she's a liar and her statements in court are not consistent with what she said prior. And to play all of this material in front of the trier of fact without her substantiating, you just like, here's the thing. Even if 90 minutes out of 120 minutes of the goddamn September interview, she told facts. She's continuing to say that some of the things.
Look at that. A witness may be impeached with evidence that's shown that they inflict in his or her perception / memory. So what does that say? Meg Thee Stallion should not been on stand, and Kelsey should not been on stand. The judge and himself, when I don't know if the judge should have said it, but what, but somebody, the lawyer, somebody should have, how do you say? I don't even know the lingo, but start to make the moves to get them both impeached as witnesses. His or her perception, memory, or truthfulness. All 3 of those things. All 3 of those things were present with both of their witnesses. The perception was wrong. From me and her didn't get in the argument. Megan said that. Me and her wasn't arguing. The argument was more between me and Tory. That's bad perception. That's you not reading the room. Memory. Oh, I don't remember that. They did that all goddamn the whole time. Truthfulness. We didn't fight. When there's a contradicting statement from Sean Kelly that don't have nothing to do with it. Brutal fight happened. I just proved that all 3 of them. All 3 of them was a reason why they should have been impeached as witnesses. But somehow the judge missed it. Somehow Tory lawyers missed it. But if he get an appeal, I don't understand how they get back on. I don't understand how they'll be able to use them again. I just wouldn't. Especially if they come with the same shit. Such as evidence of bias, mistake, character for untruthfulness, or prior inconsistent statements. Or prior inconsistent statements. That went on with all 3 of them. Sean Kelly changed his statement up. Kelsey switched everything up. Megan went from I ain't see him shoot me to I was looking at him. He was over the car. Do. Even though, once again, I don't know if this is perception, memory, or untruthfulness. Sean Kelly say Tory, once the initial shots went off by Kelsey, Tory get out the car, go around the car, and then that's when he proceeded to shoot. So even him, he was on the other. He was on top of the SUV. He was on the other side of the SUV. Dance, bitch. Come on, bro. This shit was a debacle.
That she said are not true. Are we supposed to sit there and dissect to figure out what's true and what's not true? Or are we supposed to sit here and say, once a liar, always a liar? I would move to impeach her, and then I also would have moved for a motion for mistrial because they've allowed the judge has allowed the DA to play recordings that she has overtly admitted that there are some lies in it, and the judge has allowed them to play this recording for effect on the listener, subconsciously programming them to form a thought and opinion about this case before all the evidence in the whole case is over. I would move to impeach this witness and a motion for new trial. So I'm hoping that the defense do that, and we're going to find it out. Okay. Again, okay, well, why would you lie about that to us in September? Pressure from what? Everything. And you told us that Quan was the one who got you to meet with Tory outside the hotel after the shooting, correct? I'm sorry, again, I don't remember. And you told us Quan was present on the day that Tory tried to offer you favors or invest in your business or pay for a lawyer. Is that correct? Mr. Madagassi, I'm going to object. This has been asked and answered many times. Was that what you told him? I don't recall. All right, next question. I don't know. In this interview in September, you was emotional and crying at times during that conversation, weren't you? I believe I was. And that interview was about an hour and 20 minutes long, correct? I don't know. That entire interview was recorded, correct? Yes, ma'am. And your husband was there to support you, correct? Yes, ma'am.
A jury was provided evidence it should not have. A jury should only hear evidence that is admissible under the applicable rules of evidence. Case dismissed. Tory should be a free man. From what I understand, that interview was not submitted in court. So it shouldn't have been talked about. If I'm understanding it correctly, it really shouldn't have been brought up. But even after, maybe it could be brought up. But once she starts saying that she lied and don't remember, and not even don't remember, but lied, and she was lying for certain reasons of pressure and all these different things, which that can mean a lot. Pressure means a lot. Was you under pressure from prosecution? Was you under pressure from Meg team? Who was you under pressure by? Society, the Twitter people. What do you mean by that? Once again, what do you mean by that? Comes out when I talk about Kelsey. But the jury's provided evidence it should not have. A jury should only hear evidence that is admissible under the applicable rules of evidence. So whether that interview was submitted into evidence or not is going to be the biggest thing. Obviously, her lying and stuff like that, that's a whole nother conversation, whether it should have been played. But if not even whether it should have been played, if it should have even been like respected, but it should not have been played if it wasn't in evidence. If inadmissible evidence is mistakenly shown to jurors or attorneys make improper statements to the jury in their argument or examination of witness, a judge may decide the case has been tainted and require a miscloud declaration. So this is the reason why I bring up, I don't know who's supposed to impeach the witness, because once a judge can see that things are not being played right in his court, it's the judge's responsibility to red card somebody, essentially. The judge can yellow card, like you are the judge. If you're going to kick someone out, I don't think you have to wait for a coach to throw his red flag on a challenge. I think that can be a way where, hey, the Tory teams feel a certain type of way, they bringing this up. Now that they bring it up, I think it's either a good idea or a bad idea, and I think I'm gonna lean this way because they have the proof to back up what they're saying, or they don't have the proof. So I can get it going that way, but I also can see if a lawyer smells something that's foul play under his nose, he can call it out and get rid of it immediately. Double tech, you're out of here. Red card immediately, you out of here. I ain't even got to give you one tech. I ain't even got to give you a yellow card. Red card, you're out of here. So when it said evidence is mistakenly shown to the jury and proper statements and stuff like that, examination of witness, when you doing the examination of witness and you see the witness is just a foul person lying and all this different stuff, as far when I say foul, just like not behaving in court, doing all this different stuff that can throw off the jury, I don't see how a judge don't make that decision. When you what is it like when a judge can see that you have a contradicting witnesses, like don't do nothing about it. Like that shit's weird. A key figure in trial becomes unavailable. I just don't understand how. I don't know if that applies to the bodyguard that drove, but I don't understand how he wasn't a part of this trial.
Ma'am, and you had a couple of your lawyers on the phone also present listening in, correct? Yes, ma'am. You were not under arrest when you spoke to us, correct? No, ma'am, I was not under arrest. No one in that interview made any threats or promises to you, correct? In that interview, no. But when y'all sent whoever to my door, they did tell me I would go to jail if I didn't come. Oh well, yeah, you've been subpoenaed. You will go to jail if you subpoenaed to testify and you don't go. That's not a threat. That's a promise. And that's even if it's considered a threat, is legally protected communication. Next question, because you didn't want to come to court and you were subpoenaed to be here, correct? No, I was subpoenaed, but I believe I told you I was a private person. So you're a private person and you didn't want to come, correct? I have, I'd rather not be here. You said that you felt pressure and that's why you lied to us about Tory bribing you on that interview. What pressure are you talking about from this whole situation? What that's mean? Like, who wants to be in the middle of something like this? Well, then why would that pressure you into lying to us about Tory bribing you? There was a lot of alcohol involved. I can't recount. I'm talking about the September.
Yeah, that's escape. She didn't answer that question. That not having memory is not gonna be the reason you have pressure to do something. Just you don't remember. That's all you gotta say. It's some other pressure. You lying and hiding something, or you being coached to doing something you don't believe in. It's some type of pressure. There's some outlying threats besides you gonna go to jail, or even you gonna go to jail stuff. But if you don't remember, you don't remember. That's all you gotta say. No one's convicting you. You're not on trial. So you saying you don't remember is not gonna hurt your case. Like if somebody on trial and they just sit up here and say I don't remember anything, and the prosecution got a good case against them, yeah, that's gonna kill them. Like you can't do that. Like you're gonna have to have some memory, and you better have some a good story too. But you're not on trial, Kelsey. So it's just all you gotta do is like I don't remember. So what pressure? What pressure? She ain't answer that question to me.
Interview, you were sober, correct? Yes, ma'am. And you told us multiple times on that date that Tory tried to bribe you, correct? I don't remember. So you don't remember now? I said I don't remember. You told us in September that you wanted to speak the truth to free yourself, correct? I'm sorry, but again, I don't remember what was said in September. Let me check the temperature of what y'all was saying about this. Hello, thank y'all so much for being here. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me see. Storm said 2 female DNA profiles on the gun, 2 females present. They purposely didn't swab the girls for DNA samples like the DA purposely made Mark Tory's DNA results read inconclusive as to be excluded. Wow. They told her that Tory decided to tell on her, so she better get her ass on down to the courthouse. Right.
That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. Obviously, it's speculation, but that's tough. You know that's how they move. You know they threaten you. You not even threaten you. You know they persuade and manipulate you by saying that, hey, you ain't on trial yet. Like, you don't think the prosecution did that, bro? You ain't on trial yet. Like, we ain't like, and when I say yet, I ain't even saying like they telling her like we gonna pursue her, but it's like they can do underlying things. It's like Tory made, like you're not on trial, and Tory's trying to get out of this. Only way he may get out of this is convicting you. So what do you have to say about this? And that's the pressure. Like, that's tough. I'm not gonna lie. We know they do that all the time. They use other people that's in the situation against you because they know y'all ain't communicating.
I'm sorry, but again, I don't remember what was said in September. Let me check the temperature of what y'all was saying about this. Hello, thank y'all so much for being here. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me see. Storm said 2 female DNA profiles on the.
And then the fact that it was 2 female DNA on the gun, and it's a pink gun or whatever colorful type of gun. I just only can imagine if Meg was tested for GSR. I just only could imagine if her DNA was actually on that gun and on the clip. I could only imagine if it was Kelsey DNA on the gun and on the clip. Cause at the end of the day, they tested for GSR, but they ain't DNA test neither one of them. Knowing it's two female DNA on the gun, it's 2 females present. Y'all tell me, you ain't got to be Sherlock Holmes. You ain't got to be Sherlock Holmes, bro. Like, I hate trying to like come up with like a way to word shit, cause some shit is just common fucking sense. How do you, as an investigator, not decide to test them when you don't know who gun it is at all? And let's go back to context. The first month, Meg didn't say she got shot. She stepped on glass. So the first month of investigating is based on somebody fired a gun in a suburbs, and we need to figure it out. That's the initial investigation. At least y'all do a DNA test to see who gun it is, to see who shot it. So that shit to me is like, the fact that they didn't do it, bro. I smell smoke. And like I said, it don't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out, maybe I need to at least examine one of the females, and that being Kelsey. But common sense and reality says you should do both. So the fact that they didn't, once again, it don't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out they had some type of motive behind not doing that.
Gun, 2 females present. They purposely didn't swab the girls for DNA samples, like the DA purposely made Mark Tory's DNA results read inconclusive as to be excluded. Wow. They told her that Tory decided to tell on her, so she better get her ass on down to the courthouse. Right. S. Holly wasn't there because a client wouldn't listen to her advice and wanted to blame Kelsey, which she knew they couldn't prove. So she excluded herself and wasn't going to look like a fool in court. S. Holly wasn't there because a client wouldn't listen to her advice. First of all, S. Holly has business deals connected to Jay-Z and Rock Nation, specifically through a television show and music licenses, right? Anybody know that if a Jay-Z song is in your TV show, especially something off of 444, he had to specifically sign it off. So that is reasonable suspicion to know that Sean Holly has a direct relationship with Jay-Z and or someone in a power position directly connected to Jay-Z and Rock Nation. Now, Rock Nation called Tory and threatened him. So there's a lot of co-conspiracy. I also read in part one of this video email that Sean Holly sent to Tory Lane, basically conspiring that she was going to tell the judge that it's a conflict era. But honestly, it was about the hush money and bribery, and Alex Shapiro, who is Megan Thee Stallion's attorney, going with the DA, going to deal with Kelsey and basically coerce her and scare her to get out the case, as if they was gonna cross-examine her about alleged hush money. Alex Shapiro also
That is
coerced.
crazy. That is crazy because that is like a reason that someone said that supposedly Sean Holly took some hush money, and obviously her and Tory said that. Well, she said to Tory that they can't prove it, but she don't want to take the case. That's not really getting into the logistics of how all that went down. Like we get like, hey, yeah, somebody put a bribe on you, but it's like the fact that you may get cross-examined, the fact that they may try to put you on trial, that's some crazy shit. Just as a tactic to fuck over y'all. Like, not even as some they really have some shit. Like, that shit's crazy. Oh yeah, I'm good. So, because I know D-Friend brought that up, and like you said, a lawyer would want to stay credible. I can understand that, but we ain't really realized maybe the depth of the threat that they was like. We ain't really realized that was a threat, basically. Like, we ain't understand who that was coming from, who was putting that out there. Like, that's Megan Kemp putting that out there that you took a bribe. Like, obviously that makes sense, but that's crazy. That's Megan lawyer coming to you telling you like, hey, if you don't get off this case, we coming after you. Because let's be real, if they had something legitimate, whether she got on or off the case, she had to take the stand regardless. So that's clear fucking bribery, or I forget, intimidation. That's clear intimidation. Because why she, if it was such a legitimate thing, why she ain't take the stand? Why they ain't subpoena her? Where's the evidence and all this stuff to? They never had anything in the first place. But they would have dragged her name. They would have dragged her through the mud just to try to dub or have a dub or a up on this case. And that in itself showed like that's nasty behavior. That's some nasty shit.
The allegedly coerced the only witness in this case, Sean Kelly, and that is what Tory Lane's father said in that emotion outbreak he did in front of the court after Tory Lanez was found guilty. So S. Holly excluded herself from the case because she has always been connected to Rock Nation and has direct ties to them even before she took this case, and she did not disclose that to her client. So again, I want to acknowledge what you're saying, but I think you need to know all the facts.
Conspiracy theory alert. Somehow, some way, Jay-Z advises Sean Holly to become Tory lawyer by any means necessary, just to do this at the end. Maybe. Or maybe he just pulls the card once he realized who she is, once he realized the connections, he pulled the card midway. But I know there's some tampering. I believe there's some tampering, excuse me, on some behalf from Hov's side in that camp, because obviously Meg is like, they're on Meg's side. Like, it's not something crazy to believe. It's just to what level. And then even to go to what level, how much of a genius is that person, or is Hov in his camp, where they're having a foresight in the beginning in the first years of the infancy of this case, or was it some reactionary moves that he did and as the case progressed? That's kind of the question to me, more than was he involved or not involved. Because I think that's a clear yes.
I believe Baze is an excellent attorney, tapping the barrel. He really is fighting for him, and see the bullshit. You can see it all in his face in the interview. If Sean Hawley felt like her client was sabotaging his case, she legally has to be honest with him and has the right to remove herself from the case. She told the judge and Tory two different stories. Exactly. She told the judge and Tory two different stories, which is grounds for her to be publicly reprimanded. And I think that needs to happen. They need to file documents with the California not judicial, but the American Bar Association and the Judicial Authority. And if they accept it, it will go to the California Supreme Court for a public recommendation or any type of punishment. Apparently, Tory didn't know Sean had a conflict with Rock Nation. Exactly. None of us knew. Exactly. Thank you. So you told us in September that at the end of the interview you had nothing to hide, correct? Your Honor, I don't remember our conversation for September. All right. Well, just answer what? And she keeps asking the same questions. Boom. The court said, all right, well, just answer what? The witness says, and she keeps asking the same thing. Now, even the witness realized you keep asking me the same thing, girl. And the defense has objected to ask and answer so many times. This judge is a piece of work. The court, all right, whatever her questions are, just answer. If you don't remember, you don't remember. The witness, I'm sorry, but I don't remember. Ms. Todd, you had a pretty clear memory of everything that happened at Kylie's house on the night of July 12th, correct? Everything I can't remember. You remember moving luggage from one car to the next and statements that were made between all these people at the pool, correct?
And at this point, she was supposed to be drunk already, but you can remember moving bags. You can remember conversation. You can remember arguments. Oh man, that's just. That's it. I don't see how the judge, I don't see how the jury don't realize this person is a liar. Like, just clearly lying about what she remembers and don't remember.
I'm sure I missed a few of the things, so what I told you is what I know. When I asked you anything that would incriminate Tory yesterday, you couldn't remember most of it, could you? Objection, argumentative, sustain. Um, well, you didn't want to testify when I asked you that Tory threatened to shoot you, correct? Objection, argumentative, Your Honor. The court, that's overruled. I'm sorry, say that again. You didn't want to testify that Tory threatened to shoot you yesterday, did you? I don't remember. When I asked you if Tory shot you, you tried to plead the fifth and asked the judge if you had to answer. Is that correct?
No, threatened to shoot
When
you.
I asked you if Tory shot you, you tried to plead.
I remember that part. It was a threaten to shoot you. Cause that was I remember that part when Milagro talked about. She was like, Tory said something, and she was like, did Tory threaten to shoot you? And the next question after that was like, what did you respond with? And the reason I feel like everybody felt like the reason she played the fifth was like, she was like, well, nigga, I'll shoot you back. And the reason that she would have said that is because, well, shoot you with what gun? Like, if Tory threatened you, did you threaten him back? And if what was the threat? If it was a threat with a gun, then it's like, well, you're basically admitting that you had a gun and you knew where a gun was located at least. So I remember that conversation, because that was like when shit got crazy. It's like when she pleaded the fifth, like the courtroom basically dropped shit. Everybody like that shit was headlines, honestly, at least on Twitter.
The fifth and asked the judge if you had to answer that. Is that correct? This is objection, misrepresenting the facts of the case, leading, witness blustering, all of that. Because first of all, you asking Kelsey, when I ask you if Tory shot you, you tried to plead the fifth. This DA is dumb. Go back to law school. Go. Like, go back to, you know what, law school teaches you so much more. Like regular school is about critical thinking, and I just feel like this lady has no critical thinking, quick on her feet skills, because like it's her mistakes. The defense should have been quicker with all of this money. Objection, misrepresenting the record, witness blustering, all of that. I would have objected every single. Listen, I would have been like the lawyer in the YMW Melly trial. I would have been like him. They objected and answered everything. They objection, and asked and answered. Overruled. This has been asked and answered. For the shooting was between you and Meg about sleeping with Tory. Is that correct? Me and Meg was arguing about her backstabbing me. So see, Kelsey, boom, here it goes. You claim the argument in the car right before the shooting was between you and Megan about sleeping with Tory. Is that correct? Me and Meg were arguing about her backstabbing me. What she backstabbed you about? Oh, shoot, my camera's foggy. Give me 1 second. The judge treated the defense like trash. I bet. Give me 1 second. I got to fix my camera. It's on your hand. You know, but there we have it. There we have a motive. You claim the argument in the car right before the shooting was between you and Meg about sleeping with Tory. Is that right? Me and Meg were arguing.
I said my response to what Zion said was, I think she maybe gets a guilty conscience, or know that she really didn't shoot her, so she don't really feel a certain type of way, and she not about to just railroad Tory because that's what Megan wants them to do, and that's what the prosecution want them to do.
About her backstabbing me, girl. That's basically yes. She backstabbed you because she was sleeping with Tory while you was away with COVID for 2-3 months back in Houston, you know, and Meg set you up to go over there with Tory, and I guess because she's a jealous, control, narcissist freak, she decided to try to penis for herself, even though she's the one who set you and Tory up. So that's what you claimed yesterday, correct? Yes. She admitted it. Her and Megan was arguing about sleeping with Tory. You never said that in September, correct? I don't remember. In fact, in September, you told us you were over Tory, correct? I don't remember. And you claimed yesterday you didn't see who fired the gun, correct? That's true. But you told us in a very detailed statement in September who fired the gun and how he did it, correct? Mr. Madagassi, Your Honor, I'm going to object. Argument. It's been asked and answered, overruled. Say it again. You claim that you didn't see who fired the gun yesterday, but in September you gave us a very detailed statement about who fired the gun and how it was done. Wow. Wow. Give me 1 second. Thank y'all so much. A lot of people have been sharing this content. Sharing this content all across social media. I just wanted to say thank you. Anyways, her answer was, I honestly did not see. And the person you told us in September was Tory over and over again. Your Honor, do you remember that? Your Honor, counsel is testifying at this point. Exactly. Well, it's a question. No, it's not. It could. Is it a question or is it a statement? Here's a question. And you told and the person you told us in September was Tory over and over again. And I bet the DA was like, because again, this is for effect on the people. And you told us in September it was Tory over and over again who shot Meg. It's the way it came across with such conviction as if they was testifying. So you would have to be there in court and consider the effect on the people as to how this question was shaped in the cadence behind it. And the court said, well, it's a question. Did you say that in September? I don't remember. Thank you. Moving forward, the court, do you want to start the cross? Why don't we start? Mr. Madagassi, sure. The court, all right, cross-examination. Okay, now we're about to get into the cross-examination. And now it's time for the defense to show why they are high paid and why they represent Tory, you know, and we're actually about to figure out, according to what the defense did, according to her, using immunity? How did it actually, Tory, even if his appeal is denied and so forth, he will be released no later than 2025 summer. And I can break down 20 minutes in this video when she said, I already went over this with the judge. I'm like, that's ex parte communication. The judge can lose his seat for doing that. You're not supposed to be talking to this witness. Immunity. Did you invoke your Fifth Amendment with your attorney present? Yes. And before you were given immunity, did you have to go into chambers with the attorney, with your attorney? Yes. Did you have to meet with the judge and your attorney to discuss why you're invoking your Fifth Amendment right? Yes. And did the judge have to hear you out why you are invoking and if you have reasons to believe you're incriminating yourself? Yes. And after you went into chambers with your attorney and the judge, was I there? No. Was the boom? Now go back 20 minutes in this video when she said, I already went over this with the judge. I'm like, that's ex parte communication. The judge can lose his seat for doing that. You're not supposed to be talking to this witness without both parties to the case.
And then when it went to something that said earlier, the judge should not hear information that has not been presented in evidence. So the fact that none of this stuff that she's telling you has been presented in evidence and given to both parties and all this different stuff, you shouldn't even be hearing this and taking this into consideration. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm reaching here, but as a judge, I seen cases for either mistrial or cases for something. A part of communication thing. That's basically reason for a judge to get disbarred. Reasons like just having bad practices. And one of the bad practices is doing outside research or getting outside information on a case that's not already presented in evidence. You're not supposed to do any of that. You're only supposed to judge on the evidence that's presented in hand. So I don't know how far that go. And then to go into the fact that the prosecution and the Tory's lawyers didn't get the information and it was there during this conversation is also a problem, I believe.
I understand she has an attorney. But there's the people and there's the defense attorney at play. Why does the judge get to know the detail? This judge is nosy and messy as fuck, and I knew it from the minute I laid eyes on him in court. Why is the judge participating in ex parte communication with the witness? This judge can lose his seat. I just said.
I don't know if he gassing how, like, I'm not saying, like, I don't think it's a serious thing, but I don't know if it's 100% fact that's what that was. Like him communicating with her for to do immunity. I don't know if the other lawyer is supposed to be present. I don't know what's the exact rules on that. If he know for a fact that that's wrong, hey man, Tory may have something, but like I said, I don't know personally, and I'm not gonna sit up here and have a certain amount of passion about something I'm not 100% sure on. But he seems like he's 100% sure that like he was doing bad practices as far as the judge.
Said that, and the first thing the defense busts out with is breaking down that, Your Honor, you have been participating in ex parte communication. I don't know what you said. I don't know what her attorney said. I don't know what's going on. The people don't know what's going on. This is prejudice, this entire case. Motion to dismiss this witness. This is what even a judge could have or had a reasonable opportunity to participate in witness blustering. This is illegal.
Bolstering affects when the proponent offers evidence solely to convince the fact finder that a particular witness or source of evidence is worthy of credit when credibility of the witness or source has not been attacked. I mean, from what I understand, is like, well, Kelsey's not under trial, so why are you trying to protect her? Like, I don't know. I mean, to use evidence usually improperly to give weight to evidence already introduced. A witness credibility may be attacked or supported by testimony about the witness' reputation for having character or truthfulness or untruthfulness, or by testimony in form of an opinion by that character. But evidence of truthful character is admissible only after the witness' character for truthfulness has been attacked. Okay, so you can't give her immunity and have this conversation essentially to protect her before we even get a chance to ask her questions, essentially. The fact that this witness is already getting a certain amount of protection is a form of witness tampering, because that, like, now how she's going to respond is different. And the judge had the judge is the direct reason for that. And it said, but evidence of truthful character is admissible only after the witness character for truthfulness has been attacked. So maybe you get immunity afterwards. Maybe you can get some type of partisan deal afterwards. I don't know how that works. Oh, maybe I don't know. I don't know. By testifying on another matter, a witness does not waive any privilege against self-incrimination for testimony that relates only to the witness' character of truthfulness. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
And did the judge have to hear you out while you're invoking your Fifth Amendment right? Yes. And after you went in the chambers with your attorney and the judge, was I there? No. Was the prosecutor there? No. Was any other attorneys there? No. So the only person in that chambers was you, your attorney, and the judge, correct? And the jury asked you why you would be invoking your Fifth Amendment rights. Yes. Objection, relevancy, court overruled, Mr. Madagascan. And you had to go into detail about the facts that you're concerned that you may be incriminating yourself about, correct? Yes. And after you stated your reason why you may be incriminating yourself, the judge felt that you have grounds and said that you could invoke your Fifth Amendment, correct? Objection, calls for speculation, sustained. What do you mean calls for speculation? That means the judge has intimate knowledge and key critical evidence that could change the landscape and the trajectory of this case. That's not supposed to happen. Both of these attorneys and the people are supposed to know so that they can shape their argument and their cross-examination around, right? And I wanted to show y'all something, and I'm gonna get back.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. And he sustained it because he know he don't want them to keep harping on that conversation.
You have grounds and said that you could invoke your Fifth Amendment, correct? Objection, calls for speculation, sustained. What do you mean calls for speculation? Judge, was I there as fuck? And I knew it. You have grounds and said that you. And did the judge have to hear you out while you're invoking your Fifth Amendment right? Yes. And after you went in the chambers with your attorney and the judge, was I there? No. Was the prosecutor there? No. Was any other attorneys there? No. So the only So the only person in that chambers was you, your attorney, and the judge, correct? And the jury asked you why you would be invoking your Fifth Amendment rights. Yes. Objection, relevancy, court overruled, Mr. Madagascan. And you had to go into detail about the facts that you're concerned that you may be incriminating yourself about, correct? Yes. And after you stated your reason why you may be incriminating yourself, the judge felt that you have grounds and said that you could invoke your Fifth Amendment, correct?
See, that's crazy
Objection
to
calls
me.
for speculation.
Like, in what world does the judge feel like you're right and we're gonna actually give, like, doesn't that show the judge level of bias? Like, you possibly could incriminate yourself. If you say something, it could show you might have a motive for why you, like, might need to be a suspect. So we're going to give you immunity because we're more focused on hanging Tory. Like, that's the only, like, you got to look at, like, why would people do these actions? Like, and the only equation that's coming to my mind is that you give her immunity because you're not her, you're not focused on her. You want to hang Tory Lanez. Like, that's the only thing that comes to my mind.
Sustained. What do you mean calls for speculation? That means the judge has intimate knowledge and key critical evidence that could change the landscape and the trajectory of this case. That's not supposed to happen. Both of these attorneys and the people are supposed to know so that they can shape their argument and their cross-examination around, right? Play out, it's going to be quite evident what's going on here. Well, did the court okay you to invoke your Fifth Amendment? Objection, relevance, overruled. Yes, Mr. Madagascar. And prior to you going into chambers and meeting with the judge with your attorney, were you allowed to invoke your Fifth? I'm sorry, say that again. Prior to meeting with the judge and with your attorney and giving the reasons, were allowed to invoke your Fifth? No. Objection calls for legal conclusion. The court overruled. Witness, no. So the judge heard your reasons, okay you to invoke your Fifth. Is that when the people came and said, we will give you immunity? Yes, and immunity to you means, I'm sorry, I need some more definition on that. This sounds like a co-conspiracy. If her attorney and the judge are in chambers,
the prosecution, I missed that. When he said the people, that should be throwing me off a little bit.
Calls for legal conclusion. The court overruled. Witness, no. So the judge heard your reasons, okay you to invoke your Fifth. Is that when the people came and said, we will give you immunity? Yes, and immunity to you means,
that's crazy. So the judge and the prosecution was there, and they was like, yeah, let's give her this immunity. Just so they can get the Tory. Like, that, it's so clear. Obviously, the prosecution to do that, but that's just something they shouldn't be able to do. You're tampering with a witness.
I'm sorry, I need some more definition on that. This sounds like a co-conspiracy. If her attorney and the judge are in chambers and the people are not in chambers, Tory's defense team is not in chambers, at what point in time and who communicated such information to the people to say we're going to grant you immunity? Because quite frankly, whoever communicated to the people whatever the statements were to grant her immunity was not communicated to the defense as well. So that's a prejudice on his face.
Hold on, we got a TikTok from Tory Lanez. What about the Tory Lanez?
Have you heard the conspiracy dealing with this?
Let me see real quick.
Since the 10 years for the Megan Thee Stallion shooting. I've been following this for a while and paying close attention, but I knew he was going to get arrested for one reason, because he exposed, I repeat, he exposed labels by selling. And
that's a prejudice. Yeah. So it's a lot of ex parte communication going on that the defense is not in the loop of. That is prejudice. So an immunity to you means what? I'm sorry, I need some more definition on that. Well, let me ask you this question. Did they tell you that, for example, if you purge yourself, you can still be charged? No. Boom. Do you know that you still may be charged if you purge yourself? I don't know. Mr. Madagascar, Your Honor, should we take a moment for her attorney to advise of her what immunity is? The court, not unless she asks for it. So you can ask her questions about that. Witness, I better get back to my lawyer on that. The court, do you want to speak to your lawyer? Yes. Mr. Madagascar, Your Honor. So the judge knows something that nobody else don't know because he was back there collecting all the tea with his messy ass. And now he's saying, "Oh shit! If she purges, if she don't want her turn, she purges herself, and she let whatever that I know get out here." That's the case. So I can see just by that statement alone when he's saying, "I ain't unless you want to get her attorney." No, because we already heard this. I'm trying to figure out if y'all clever enough to bring it out. So that's just a perspective I have in all fairness. But as I can see, and as everybody can see, this judge is not fair for the defense. Your Honor, if I could ask one more question, the court, go ahead, Mr. Madagascar. Do you know right now if you say something that's incriminating that you purge yourself, that you could be criminally charged? Are you aware of this? No, right, I don't. The court, do you want to speak to your lawyer? The witness, may I speak to my lawyer? Yeah, Mr. Nardano. All right, so it's off the record. Now back to the court. Do you want to step into the hallway? Yes. All right. The court, let me see counsel while we're waiting. So they went to the sidebar. This is what don't nobody know. The court. So the bailiff advised me that the jury who asked to step out is feeling nauseous. I asked her to inquire. We may need to break early. I guess we're losing a lot of time. Like I said, the DA used up all the court time, used hours to play this long ass recording, cross examination. And now the judge is talking about. So the bailiff advised me that the jury who asked to step out is feeling nauseous. I asked her to inquire. We may need to break early. I guess we're losing a lot of time. So the judge is right now playing a psychological warfare game against the defense so that they can cut their cross examination short, which is prejudice. For the entire day, the court, we need to break early for the lunch hour. Okay, if she can't go forward today, then we have to.
Yeah, that. Honestly, that's crazy. Just because of where they were at in the trial, they just was getting to their rebuttals, and they were really getting into the nitty gritty of about Kelsey and his immunity stuff, which obviously the judge don't want them to dig too deep in, but they had something there, and by cutting it short there, you lose the memory of everything that happened that day. Going into the next day, it just you lose a lot of that steam, and like he said, it's a psychological game that's being had, and you gotta understand, courtroom is a game just like any other sport. It's ways that the refs, the judges, the owners, or however you want to say it, know how to pace games, slow things up, speed things up to mess up certain things, to shake up certain teams or shake up certain games. Like, it's a known thing. If you know, you know, but it's no different in a courtroom.
To decide how we're going to deal with that. Mr. Madagascar, do you want to break now? Court, well, I say we try to keep going. If she can sit through it, I think it's inappropriate that he interrupts the court. Yeah, the court. Let's see if she can sit through it. I'm waiting to see what she says. I'm bringing it up just so you know, Mr. Madagascar. So the court knows I'm just going through the preliminary stuff. I haven't even gotten to the factual stuff. I still have to go through the text messages and stuff. I just want the court to know. Okay, I understand, Mr. Madagascar. I'm ready to go through whatever I need to go through with her right now. Your Honor, for the record, one of the text messages the court allowed into evidence. I don't know if the court knew the text message was from Megan Thee Stallion. That was allowed to be a part into the record through this witness, which is completely hearsay. The court, where if you want a limited instruction, I'll give you one that instructs the jury, it cannot be considered for the truth of the matter. Ms. Tia, let me clarify. When counsel says text messages, he is referring to the Instagram post. You're right. The Instagram post. I apologize. You're right. I apologize. The Instagram post that was posted by Megan, where she is stating certain things that she is trying to say because of the truth of that statement you posted there. That is only coming in for the truth of the matter and is brought in through Megan's Instagram post by Kelsey. There is foundation and hearsay issues that the court is allowed to come in. The court, that's relevant only as to how it explains the nature of the relationship and how it changed. But like I said, I can give you a limiting instruction that is a mess. This was Meg humiliation ritual. It sounds like it. Who sworn to protect the United States Constitution as well as the California Constitution? Or did you go to pick up your belongings that was in the vehicle that my client was the one who had? It was in his vehicle. So you.
All right, man. We've been here a little minute. I ain't about to go through the whole 3 hours, but I just wanted to go through some of it. I'll probably pick it up another day if I get the energy for it. But I just wanted to get into some of it after I seen how good the conversation was. And I'm going to go back and watch it myself. And if there's anything else to react to, I might just do like a short video reacting to it. But yeah, it's interesting. Even in this hour, there's so much to conversate, from the fact that he might be out in 2 years to the fact that Kelsey got immunity, to the fact that the lawyers wasn't present. Like I said, I seen so many different phony things that I felt, as far as the witness being faulty, that should have been a reason for a retrial and stuff like that. But it seems like there's even more things like that, or even more things deeper than that should be a reason for another retrial or even a mistrial or something like that, because of the lawyer knowing the judge knowing certain things, the prosecution granting immunity, all these other different shit, bro. It's just a lot of different things, but that's all depending on how good Tory new team is, and it also depends on who take the case. Excuse me. Whoever's on that next level, whoever's overseeing the appeals, it all depends on them as well. If they right on the same timing as these other people, then ain't really nothing gonna change. But if they're a just person and gonna hear things out, we'll see. But it's been a good conversation.